What's up? Welcome to the Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. This is episode number 56, and I am Adam Choate. To follow this show, it's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram, and I'm at Adam Choate on Instagram and Twitter if you want to follow me. And of course, I have no affiliation with Tedeschi Trucks Band. This is not an official podcast or anything. I am just a fan, and if you're listening, I'm guessing there's a good chance that you might be too. So please be sure to subscribe and give the show a positive review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. That's all helpful for sure. So yeah, these days with TTB not on the road and raising money to help their crew, the band still has that fundraiser page set up at givebutter.com/TTB. And I definitely strongly encourage everyone to continue to support over there. And there's still lots of auctions and raffles and things going on. And if you want to follow those, also join Tedeschi Trucks Band fans on Facebook, the private group, and or Tedeschi Trucks Band family and friends on Facebook, that group. It shouldn't be too much of a process to get accepted in there if you're not already in those groups. And of course, I can't say it enough, givebutter.com/TTB to support TTB's crew. I actually found out that /TTB and /TTB will both go to the same website. So that's good. But anyway, for today's episode, I'm joined by Long Island's own hardcore Tedeschi Trucks Band fan, Glen Cordova. Way back when he was a kid, it was actually his sister's boyfriend who first introduced him to classic rock music. And pretty much since then, he hasn't looked back. From Clapton to Buddy Guy to the Allman Brothers to Derek and Susan, family man Glen has always made sure that music is a huge part of his life. And after a scary bout with COVID, glad he is doing well. But let's just get started. Here's Glen Cordova. All right, so it's good to see you today, Glen Cordova. Thank you for joining me on Zoom. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is my absolute pleasure, Adam. I appreciate the invite, and I'm looking forward to discussing some music.
Oh, for sure. How are you holding up during whatever year it is?
You know, it's been a topsy-turvy year for everyone. For me personally, so the last show that I saw was the Brothers concert at Madison Square Garden, which was March 10th. The world shut down basically like the next day. And I got COVID either at that show or the day of, because I ran into someone that day, a friend of mine, on my way to the show, and he told me a few weeks later that he had gotten COVID. And so I went to the Brothers show. I took my fiance, who's now my wife, and my two kids, who were at the time 14 and 11. And that was like a dream of mine for them to go see the Allman Brothers and specifically Derek and Warren. They've heard me talk about them all the time. And then once I got COVID, I got it really bad.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I got it really bad. And I couldn't even get into a hospital at the time. My doctors were telling me stay away from the hospital. I couldn't get tested, all that stuff. So it was kind of a crazy couple weeks. And honestly,
what were your symptoms?
My symptoms were, I lost 15 pounds over the course of a week, just through everything.
Yeah.
and I tremendous body aches and pains. I had a fever of about 103 for about a week.
Wow. Yeah. That's intense.
It was intense. I was hallucinating. I thought that was it for me,
Wow.
And I was fortunate that my fiance lives a mile away, and oddly enough, she lives around the corner from my ex-wife. So I sent my kids to my ex-wife, so my fiance went back to her place. So I locked myself down in my house for the good 2 weeks, which was tough and it was lonely. And I didn't really let my family know how bad it was, so I didn't want them to know.
Sure.
But what was eye-opening was this in September, I dropped something behind the couch, and my fiance reaches back there to get it, and she pulls out some letters that I had written, basically saying goodbye to people.
Oh boy!
I didn't even know. I don't even recall writing. And
wow, you don't even recall writing them?
Don't recall writing them at all. There were days when I was going to sleep, and you wake up gasping for air. because you can't breathe. And
Yeah,
that's when I was starting,
respiratory.
exactly. So I was starting to get worried because I couldn't breathe. And so at that same time, I was like, hallucinating from the fever. And what's interesting about the letters that I wrote one to Lisa, my fiance, my two kids, and my parents. And I talked about music. I basically said, I think this is my time. When I go, these are the songs that I want you to play. And
you made a playlist.
I made a playlist.
I would probably do something like that too.
So I had on the playlist, I had Allman Brothers, Ain't Wasting Time No More. And each one was like dedicated to like someone in my family and like what it meant to me. And that was to everyone because I wanted them to move on if that was the case. To my kids, Midnight in Harlem was to my son because we shared a very special moment at Mountain Jam when he was 4 years old, sitting on my shoulders. And it was like a religious experience for me, sitting in front of Derek and Susan with him. And my daughter was a Michael Franti song. I don't know if you know him. And my wife was my now wife was a song by Mark Cohn called True Companion. And I remember thinking at the time, like, I want to marry this woman. I'm not going to get a chance to. And when I came out of it, it's like a month or two later, I proposed to her. And we actually just tied the knot a couple weeks ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, everything comes full circle and all goes back to music and family.
Yeah, I'm glad that story has a happy ending on multiple fronts.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it was eye-opening, and it made me really take notice of how powerful this virus could be. And my family stayed extra safe and vigilant after that. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be lucky in this world too. That helps.
You do. But in terms of, the rest of the year, for me, besides that near-death experience, it's been a good year. I'm an architect. I live on Long Island. I live like middle of Long Island in Port Jefferson. I think you're from Long Island too.
Right. Yeah, I know. I'm very familiar, of course.
So I work out in the Hamptons. So I sit in the trade parade, and it's like a 2-hour commute in the morning. And it's crazy. And I've been doing it for 20 years. And so for me, the pandemic gave me a chance to be home and really spend some quality time with my family and my kids and Lisa and got to do things like that I never got to do before, really, just like getting outside at a normal time at 6:00 on a Wednesday, and having time to myself. So for me, the pandemic was a refresher in a way, and kind of recharged my batteries a little bit. Now that the world is opening back up, like I feel good. I feel good about it. And my office, we're never going to be the same. We're never going to be full-time in the office again. We're an office of 20 people. And we basically told people, try to get there 2 days a week. The rest is remote because the world has changed.
Right.
So it's all been good for me.
No, you're adapting, you're evolving, you're making the best of the situation and the times, for sure. Why don't we go back? Did you grow up on Long Island? You could tell me about the early days,
Yeah. So
your family life. Do you have siblings? What kind of music were you listening to? Tell me about like elementary school age and very young, the young days.
I grew up. I did grow up on Long Island. I grew up in Comac, music was always around in my family. We had a piano. My sisters played instruments, the flute, violin. They're in like marching band and all that stuff. And they're 4 and 5 years older than me, so I didn't really hang out with them too much and get involved in that. But music was always just there, and I would noodle around with the piano, but I was always just fascinated with the guitar. But I never played until I was like 19 years old, and even then, I never got any better since I'm 20.
You're like, you have a very similar story to me. Always kind of like intrigued by guitar, around other people who kind of played music. I played trumpet when I was like in elementary school, and like, did you really?
Yeah.
In concert band in elementary school, middle school, maybe, or did I play? I didn't play in high school, but yeah, I'm from Dix Hills, actually, like the next town.
Okay.
The next town over. And of course, I'm familiar with Comac and that area, and used to go play baseball at the field. What was the school right down
Well, there was
on
Comic South
on
over
what was
there.
on what is on Vanderbilt
Yeah,
Parkway?
Comic South. There was Candlewood.
Yeah, Comac
Um,
South
yep. Yeah.
was actually like the closest in some ways. I think one of the closest or closer parks, even though I wasn't in the Comac school district.
Yeah.
Hills West
Oh, okay.
and Candlewood.
That's where Taz goes to school. You know Taz?
The wrestler?
No, no. Brandon's power. Brandon's
Oh, the guitar player. Yeah. The young
yeah.
guitar player, the kid. Yeah.
Yeah, phenomenal kid. Yeah. So yeah, I grew up and music was always there. My first, I was a child of the 80s. I'm 45 years old now. I grew up around like MTV at that time, and like a lot of like Yo MTV raps. When I was like 10 years old, and so my first concert was a Z100 like Jingle Ball concert with all these rap artists, and which is weird because as much as I might have listened to that for a little while, I it's definitely not part of my of my music selection right now. But then I got at the same time, so because of kind of MTV, there was like the rap side when I was young, but then also Eddie Van Halen, and because I was fascinated with the guitar, Eddie Van Halen to me was like, wow, this is so cool. He was a showman. He was fun. And then when I was in high school, my sister's boyfriend said, like, God, you got to open up your eyes a little bit to more music. And he took me to the mall and bought me a cassette of Led Zeppelin 4, and changed everything. Right after that, I got like AC/DC Back in Black, and I started to listen to what was classical rock at the time.
Yeah, classic rock.
Classic rock, yeah. And
I still call it that.
It's still classic rock. Yep, exactly. And so during that time, like when I was getting to classic rock, there was obviously Clapton, Skynyrd, all the hits, and the Allmans were part of that. But they weren't, for me, the Allmans, they were part of that fabric of my childhood music, but they weren't the focus yet. And it took, after my sister's boyfriend kind of opened my eyes a little bit, I started to get into Eric Clapton. And I was into Eric Clapton, some of his 70s stuff. And then when the Unplugged album came out, Tears in Heaven was like the biggest thing at the time. It was all over
92?
Yeah, it was 91, 92, around there. And so I remember my sister got me the Unplugged album and the CD, and I opened up the book. They don't make CD booklets anymore, but the CD booklet. And there was all this writing and information about Robert Johnson, the old blues guy from the turn of the century. And I started to look him up. And I looked him up, and I bought a few of his CDs, and I was like afraid of it. He's got a really haunting sound to him. And I in some ways I wasn't ready for it, but I was ready for like a musical journey into the blues. So
sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah. After that, I really got into like basically everybody that Clapton was covering on that album. T-Bone Walker, Big Bill Broonzy, and I started buying all the old kind of the old chess albums from Chicago blues, and it was eye opening. And then I started to revisit the Allmans around that time, and it was because of a friend of mine named Paul Cusimano, called Cus, and he I bought my sister bought me a guitar, and he has one of these ears that he can hear something, play it back twice, and then know it and play it. He's amazing. And so he was teaching me how to play, and I was listening to the Clapton album, the Unplugged album, Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out. And he was like, oh, well, this is on Layla and assorted, love songs. So we opened up the Dominoes album, and I'm like, who is that other guitar? And as much as I knew some of that music, I didn't really get it yet. And he's like, oh, well, that's Dwayne Allman. And he told me the whole lineage of like how Dwayne got to join in that band and how Tom Dowd brought him in. And it made me revisit the Allman Brothers. Now I made the mistake of starting with the Phil Maurice album, which again was almost too much for me. It was so improvisational that as a new kind of student of music and the blues, I still wasn't ready. I was still coming from like, a 3-minute song, a hit.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I was gonna say it's funny you put it that way because like Mountain Jam and Elizabeth Reed they were not like the first songs that I got into as like. Now I honestly listen to those songs like almost every day, and they're 30-minute songs like almost every day. I'll listen to one or both or more different versions. I won't listen to the same version multiple times in the same day, I don't think. But no, I love it. But go on.
It was the same with me. Like I was into like Blue Sky, Rambleman, Melissa, all the 3 to 4 minute songs. And then Phil Maurice, it was a little bit too much. So I remember taking a step back and sticking with Clapton because like for some reason I understood Eric Clapton. He reached me. And as I got more and more deep with him, it led me deeper into the blues and improvisational music and seeing Clapton live a bunch of times. And I got to understand how artists stretch out, guitarists stretch out on songs. And I was able to then go back to Phil Maurice, and really it became like, I'm going to listen to this album every day. This is a piece of art. It's a masterpiece. And so that kind of set me off on my Allman Brothers kick, which hasn't stopped to this day. And I'm a TTB guy, but it starts with the Allmans for me.
Yeah.
I like the Grateful Dead a lot too, but to me, nothing beats the experience of an Allman Brothers concert or listening to that music. And I'm thankful for it because it opened me up to Derek, Warren, Oteil, like all the new crew, and that just set me on a whole different path then. And now my focus is TTB, Government Mule, still kind of blues-based artists, Gary Clark Jr. It's I get out to see them whenever I can, and as much as I'm blues-based and guitar-based, I do have an eclectic taste in music too. I'll listen to a lot of jazz, a lot of old blues. I'll listen to some solo acoustic artists like Glen Hansard. My wife and I now we watch a lot of YouTube, and every night we watch like an hour of just live music, and that's just how we finish our night usually. Nice. We go to YouTube, and it's something. It doesn't matter what it is. And I'm not ashamed to say sometimes it's like Justin Timberlake. We want to feel good, and she wants to dance a little bit, or like on the couch. But it's a really, music is a huge part of our lives.
I can tell,
and we try to get out there whenever we can.
That's cool, and it's interesting to hear not just yourself but other people I've talked to and music fans how like one artist leads to another. You become a fan of another artist through like a collaboration through an artist that you already like. That it's like a gateway drug. It's like a gateway. It's like your favorite artist is giving you like a seal of approval for this person, or something like that. On some level, it's like, so now when you listen to like, Dwayne, when you started listening to the Allman Brothers and Dwayne Allman more after getting into Clapton and blues stuff, it was like now you were associating like Dwayne Allman with Clapton and your feelings about Clapton and that love for his music, like sharing that with Dwayne, and it's just interesting. And then that led to where did you say that led to? Government Mule and to Derek and to Tedeschi Trucks, of course. Like it's just interesting how that works, and that's how it is for me. And it's the same way with like Tedeschi Trucks and Allman Brothers. Like right now, probably being like my my favorite kind of music to listen to, but again, eclectic music and all kinds of genres and world music finds its way into my life. And especially now during, when I've been working home from more, like, I forget which past guest said this, but like, you really are able to suit what music you want to listen to your moods when you're using it for music for company more than anything, like, and you take it less for granted. I think that's one thing that's happened, at least for me, is like just appreciating music on deeper and deeper levels. And I think that's endless. Like there's no like limit on how much you can appreciate something.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I 100% agree. And it's also, you start to realize that time and our time on this planet is limited. And so we want to take advantage of as much as we can. Now, I had seen Tom Petty numerous times. And then when I got together with my wife, who's my wife now, she's a big Tom Petty fan, never got a chance to see him. And when he died, what was it, 2 years ago, I guess, or maybe 3, I had tickets. I impulsively buy tickets all the time. As soon as I see something go on sale or announced that I want to see, I buy the tickets. It doesn't matter if I've checked my calendar or anything. I'll figure it out. If not, I'll sell them to a fan, for face value. And at the time when Tom Petty was touring, he had tickets. I had tickets for him at I think the Beacon, and I was excited to go. And then I checked my calendar, and because I have shared custody with my kids, I was like, well, that's the weekend I have my kids. I can't really do that, So I just said, you know what? There'll be plenty of other opportunities. And I told Lisa, I said, I wanted to take you to this concert. You've never seen him before, but we'll see him next year, or at Jones Beach. He's going to be around. And then he died. And it really made me regret not going to that and thinking that, you have to prioritize the things that you're passionate about.
Right.
They hold a really special place in your heart. And, these are the memories that I want to have later on in life.
Yeah, I value experiences a lot. Like events, going to events and experiences like seem to be something that I value, like concerts and even just like hanging out with friends and those shared experiences, especially.
Yeah, I wholeheartly agree. I would rather have an experience than a material item.
Right, exactly. I look around my apartment and I thought about this recently. I'm like, what do I need? Like, what do I really need? Like, what stuff, item, thing do I really need? Like everything that I like really want or whatever that I find fulfilling has nothing to do with material things. Obviously, material things are nice and have value too. I mean, especially things like guitars and whatnot. But yeah, no, you seem to have a good head on your shoulders for sure, man.
Yeah, I love it all, and I appreciate that. And I try to get out whenever I can, and I try to introduce people to music, to my music whenever I can too. And I'm happy that I've turned on numerous people over the years to Tedeschi Trucks, Derek Trucks Band, Warren Haynes, Governor Mule, and now they're fans, and now we go see shows together. So, I feel like I had a little part in that.
That's cool. I want to hear more about before we get into exactly when you, I guess, first saw Derek and Susan or Tedeschi Trucks, or a little bit more of the chronology of that specific fandom. Tell me more about like your guitar playing, because you said you started playing it at like, would you say 19? I started playing around college age as well, and then like feel like I haven't improved as much as I want to, or I guess that's everyone. But tell me about your journey and like how you learned. Did you learn? Were you in bands? Like your guitar journey.
So my sister bought me my first guitar, and it was she had gotten it not knowing much about it. It was like a classical nylon string guitar. So I kind of learned on that, and it was a little cumbersome, fat neck, and then my hands aren't that big to reach it all. And I'm like, I'm not really enjoying this all that much. And then I started like hanging out with my friend Kuz, and I would bring it everywhere I went. I'm like, can you play my guitar? Because I can't make it sound good. And then he was like, you need to get a new guitar. So I bought a new guitar, nothing crazy. It was like a Hohner makes harmonicas.
Right. Yeah.
My line of guitars. So I bought one, and it was a little bit of a narrow neck, and I felt good on it, and I learned on that. And
is it acoustic guitar? Acoustic guitar?
Acoustic guitar, yeah. and I started when I was 19. And I feel like I learned a lot between maybe 19 and 21. And since then, I've learned very little. That's it's because it's a matter of maybe time spent on it. It was my thing at the time. I was in college, but every second I wasn't in my architecture studio in college, I was playing my guitar and I was hanging out with this guy, and we just had so much fun. And then after college, we went kind of separate ways, and I played it less. I find that now I pick it up when I have a reason to, and unfortunately, the reasons are like funerals, or I played it at my wedding, a couple weeks ago.
Occasions,
yeah, occasions, and because again, music means something to me. I'm kind of an emotional person, and like when my very close aunt and uncle died, like 5 years apart, I played at both of their like memorial services, just songs that meant something to me because it's the only way I know how to express myself. And as much as I wish I could express myself by going on a stretched out solo and really kind of getting my feelings out there, I'm not able to. I'm a strummer. I'm not a lead guitar player at all. But this was my contribution to those times, and a way of telling people that this person meant something to me. And when we had my wedding a couple weeks ago, which was spur of the moment. Like I tell you, we planned it on a Tuesday, got married on a Saturday.
Damn.
Yeah, but we got.
Why not?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a second marriage, and we got engaged in August last year, and we've been waiting to have a big reception with family and friends, but COVID just really wasn't allowing that.
Right.
So we had planned on doing it like this fall, and then I needed to get them onto my health insurance. So we were talking about it, and my wife's daughter was home for the weekend from college in Colorado. I said, let's just do it this weekend. So that morning of the wedding, I learned that song "True Companion" by Mark Cohn, which meant something to me that I wanted to play for her, and so I played that for her at our wedding, which is just on the docks in Port Jeff with just our kids and dogs. So music means something to me, and it's something that I can. It's a way that I can convey a message to people. I wish that I was I was more adept at it, where I can perform for people, but I'm just not there. But it's an underlying passion that I have that I don't get enough to spend enough time doing.
But you did perform for people in a sense at the wedding and the funeral. There was people listening to you. Do you ever record yourself playing guitar and singing and listen back?
I do.
Do you really do? Because what I try to do is like really try to listen like objectively. Like if I think to myself, if I walked past this person or overheard this, what would I actually say?
Yeah.
Like what would I actually say to this person? I would, and most of the time it's like, oh, you're not bad. Keep going. Keep working at it. That's probably what I would say to myself.
And that's kind of how I feel too. Like if I heard because I do record myself, and more so on my phone, probably
same, yeah,
audio than video, because I don't want to watch myself. Although there's been plenty of times where I've recorded myself, like learning how to play these songs. Just like if I'm going to perform, I want to know what I look like in front of these people. So, but yeah, if I listen to myself, I always think the same thing. Okay, as a strumming kind of song, I can hold my own. As a singer, my pitch is perfect if perfect was always a half step flat.
Oh no.
I'm always like, I'm consistent. I'm not all over the place, but for some reason, my ears and my voice don't do the same thing. And I'm like, it doesn't sound terrible because it's consistent. It's not pitchy. It's just slightly off the wrong pitch.
Do you have experience with singing? Have you done any training or anything, lessons, or do you sing scales or anything like that?
Nothing like that at all.
Dude, you got to start doing that. That's what I've been trying to. I've been trying to teach myself to sing for about, I don't know, like a couple of years, but nothing formal. I took like one lesson like 3 years ago, but I do try to do some scales and
it helps, right?
matching the note on the guitar. If you match the note on the guitar and the guitar's in tune, you are in tune.
Yeah.
But just singing in tune, I'm learning, is not singing. I sing also in like a talkie style also, or so I've been told. I want to sing more like Jim Morrison and Johnny Cash, but it sounds more like Bob Dylan. Is more what it sounds like, unfortunately.
I try to get a little bit of a growl to my sing, like a Greg Allman.
Yeah. I would love that.
Makes up for it, you know?
Yeah, I would love to do the Joe Cocker, Greg Allman, Ray Charles, something or other like that would be. James Brown. Let's just name the best singers. Can I learn from YouTube how to sing like Aretha?
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be quite something. Yeah, your guitar journey kind of at least early on kind of reminds me of myself. But I do try to keep playing as much as I can. Like I kind of feel it if I go like a couple of days without playing. I guess I try to make it like at least somewhat of a habit to sing or play guitar at least a few times a week. Do you find that thing with the, like, you know, certain things that are part of your routine in your life that need to be part of your routine, or you want to be part of your routine? If you even go like a couple of days or 3 days without doing something, like something feels like a little bit off or missing.
Absolutely. And I would say in regards to music, it's when Lisa and I don't spend that time watching YouTube and concert videos, like for like a few days. I'm like, God, we feel a little off.
Dude, it's medicine. It's medicine. It is. I'm coming around to all this stuff.
Yeah. We sit down. We watch those. We have our we'll have a drink and our own medicine, and
right.
We feel good doing it.
Sure.
And when we don't do it, it's like, God, we need some time to sit on the couch and just unwind and be one with the music in a way.
No, for sure. Tell me about your journey into the TTB world and maybe go back, like, what's your first live Derek and or Susan experience? Because you've been into music for a long time, so maybe I don't know if you remember when TTB formed or when you got in there.
My first, so it was interesting because, so I went to a few Allman Brothers shows in the 90s, and to me, they were still, I wasn't digging deep. So to me, it was still like, okay, Greg, Dickie, Butch, J-Mo, and a couple other guys. I don't know who they are. This long-haired blonde guy, or this guy with a mane like Warren. And I saw them on stage. I'm like, oh, that was a good show, man. I wish I was still hung up on the old Allman Brothers and not being a part of that. So I'm like, it was cool to see Dickie. I wish I saw them with the Wing.
Sure.
And I didn't really understand what I was seeing because I just wasn't fully immersed in it yet. And then Hitting the Note came out. Not Hitting the Note. Yeah, Hitting the Note came out. And I guess the last Allman Brothers studio album was maybe 2001, 2002. And again, reading the liner notes, which I was always a fan of doing, and I miss that nowadays. Reading the liner notes and looking, I'm like, Derek Trucks, who's that? Like, who's that guy? And then I, Google search for him, and I'm like, oh, I saw that guy play. I think he was really good. I don't 100% remember because I was focused on Dickie. But it opened my eyes, and I started digging in a little bit deeper. And around that time, I think 2003, I saw Derek Trucks Band for the first time at what used to be Westbury Music Fair, and theater in the round kind of thing. And it was really,
I've been there.
Yeah, really cool, intimate space, and I remember being so moved. And Derek Trucks Band versus TTB, like they were a little bit more avant-garde, would go on some jazz tangents.
Right.
And I really dug that. I thought it was really cool. And it was like nothing I'd ever heard before. And so I started to kind of get into that. It was interesting though, within a month of seeing Derek Trucks at Westbury Music Fair, I also went to see Buddy Guy. And I'm a big Buddy Guy fan. It goes back to my Chicago blues things. And I remember seeing Buddy Guy and going there And it was like a religious experience. It was my first time seeing him. I've seen him a bunch of times since then. My first time seeing him, and as you know, Westbury Music Fair, you're right there. You're on top of the people, and I had like fifth row, so I could see Buddy's sweat. I'm like, this is so cool. This is legend here, and he, I remember him playing a solo. Now remember. So you're a Long Islander,
Right?
Formerly,
That's
so,
true.
There's a couple of things about Long Islanders that are maybe like, yo, bro, this kind of talk that they do.
I would never talk like that ever.
but you know what I'm talking about.
I think so.
So I remember being at the show, and this guy was just talking behind me the whole time, and I was getting really annoyed. And then Buddy goes into this solo, and it's really like hitting me hard, and I'm like, it was really emotional. And I find myself, tearing up, and I'm like fighting, like I'm about to cry right now. And then I hear this guy saying to his friend, this guy who didn't shut up the whole night, go, yo, bro, I'm gonna fucking cry from this. This is amazing. And I turned around and I'm like, all of a sudden I feel this kinship with this guy because we're both having this same experience. And it really kind of opened my eyes to like, okay, there's a common thread here between everybody.
That's not where I thought that story was going to go.
It was interesting though, because and then so like I enjoyed Buddy, and I felt the kinship with everybody there, and from there, and I forget your question, but it was about lineage of music.
TTB, getting into TTB.
Okay,
Derek Trucks. You're talking about Derek Trucks Band at Westbury,
right? So that was all within the same month. So I was at that time like really heavily into Derek Trucks and that music. And then shortly after, so 2000, a couple of years go by, dig deeper and deeper into Derek Trucks Band. My worlds combined. Derek joins forces with Eric Clapton. He does a tour with Eric Clapton in like 2006, 7, right. Something like that. And I'm like, this is everything I've wanted, really, out of like a new guy that I fell in love with, the guy who introduced me to everything. And I'm looking at I'm a guy who looks at set lists online all the time, and they're playing in Japan, they're playing all over the place. So I'm like, they're playing all this Domino's music, which is what got me into the Allmans, and now Derek's in the Allmans, and it's all full circle. And during that time, like I was listening to every show that I could from that tour. And then they had Crossroads Guitar Festival in Chicago, or like the outskirts of Chicago, in like 2007, 8, somewhere around there. And I went, and Derek Trucks Band was one of the supporting acts. I had Clapton obviously headlines, but Buddy Guy headlines. And at the time, it was a one-day festival. And I saw Derek play, and I knew that not a lot of people knew who he was. Even though he was touring with Clapton, you could tell that not a lot of people knew who he was. And Bill Murray comes out. He was the
I've seen all the videos, of course, the video, yeah.
Yeah, Bill Murray comes out. He introduces them. He introduces him wrong. He says Darryl Trucks, and nobody picked up on it. And Derek just blows the roof. They play Any Day by Domino's, and Derek just blows, and Mike Madison, they blow the roof off the place. And I remember being online for like a beer in the restroom, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, that guy with the blonde hair was amazing." And I remember feeling like, well, I know who that is. I'm a fan of his, and feeling really good about that. And so that was like seeing Derek and Eric play the Domino's for me was probably one of my top 3 or 4 musical experiences. And in particular, why does love got to be so bad?
Sad.
It's sad. The outro where Eric and Derek are playing to that, and they're playing over each other, was just amazing to me. And then seeing Derek play on like Pearly Queen with Steve Winwood and Clapton, it was everything to me. and that's kind of where things started to all come together. During that time, I was turned on to Warren also because I started to dig deeper into the current Allman Brothers, and I remember thinking God, this is a guitar festival. I feel like Warren should be there also. And then, in subsequent years in Madison Square Garden, Warren played with the Allman Brothers there, and he played a song with Derek and Greg Allman, Needle and the Damage Done, acoustic, and I was happy to see Warren be part of that. And that was all because of, I'm pretty sure, like Derek's involvement with Eric Clapton. I wish that I had seen the 2009 shows at the Beacon where Clapton showed up. And I remember at the time, that's when Butch Trucks had this streaming service called Mugus, where they streamed the whole Beacon run for that 2009 year. And it was amazing. I remember watching
audio or video.
Video.
Wow, is that still available?
Mugus is not available.
No, but what about the video itself?
Some of the video is you can find bits and pieces on YouTube. You can find.
Yeah, I wonder. I'd probably come across some of the 2009 stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but not all of it is out there from what I can tell. But it was kind of amazing, and watching in my living room, watching Little Wing in that 2009 with Clapton, Warren harmonizing, Derek doing Dwayne's part. I just remember thinking, like, besides wishing I was there, like, this is it for me. These are all my guitar heroes. This goes back to, playing music that I learned about, as a teenager that got me into music in the first place. And it was a religious experience.
Yeah, it's a spiritual experience seeing Tedeschi Trucks Band live, and it always is too. Like, you always leave feeling uplifted, and I'm not the only person to articulate it. That's cool. That's all good stories. I feel like I want to travel back in time, and I really only think about that in terms of music. I almost never think about, like, maybe go back in time to see, like, fucking Babe Ruth play or something like that. But, like, so short of that, it's always like, I want to go back to this show and be there live. Like, I really would love to go back to the 70s and go to the Fillmore East and see the Allman Brothers, or
I want to be that guy saying one more set. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's that's where, look, a lot of great music came out of that time. And people nowadays will often say, like, where's rock and roll music? Where's roots music? And it's all about pop, this and that. But I don't know, the music that you and I listen to, there's a lot of great music coming out.
You can find it, especially with the internet. You have to look for it a little bit, but if you're connected to that world, you find if you're obviously just watching the mainstream stuff and listening to top 40 radio, you're probably not going to find some of the stuff that we're predominantly into.
And that's what's interesting is, like, so my kids are, so my son is now 15 going on 16. My daughter is about to turn 13. So they're into, like, a lot of pop, current music, things like that. And, they don't hear that when I'm driving in the car. They hear what I want them. I've been trying to indoctrinate them since they were little. Since I heard that Derek's father played the Layla album when he was like a baby. When I had my first kid, I'm like, well, that's what's going to happen. He's going to sleep to that.
Sure.
And I didn't feel like it quite worked. And we'd be in the car and they'd be asking me to change the station or something, or like a pop song would come on and they would know it. I'm like, how do you know this music? And that's what they listen to. But I made sure that, so, like, again, the experiences matter to me. And, I place a lot of value on those experiences and what they might mean to someone else later on in life. So I made sure that my son's first concert, my daughter's first concert, she's the younger one, was like Casey Musgrave's like a country something that my ex-wife had taken her to. For me, I remember saying, like, I would like to take Sam to his. I remember saying to my ex, like, I'd like to take Sam to his first concert, because I want that to be something that he can like check the box later on in life. So I took him to see Buddy Guy at Westbury Music Fair, and that was their first concert, and or his first concert, and her second. And you know what? At first, I didn't think they were getting a lot out of it, but if you've ever seen Buddy, he does this thing where he goes into the audience, he goes up to people, he plays guitar right in front of them.
He's a showman.
He's a show. He is the showman. I mean, he taught Jimmy how to play, be a showman, and they just gravitated towards that, and they were like, "That was the greatest show. That was so cool." And since then, I've taken them to Tedeschi Trucks shows. We had a chance to meet Derek and Susan and get backstage. And I have pictures of them with Derek and Susan. And I remember Susan getting like almost a little mad at me, like, it's really late for them. They should be asleep right now. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Her mom came out.
Yeah, she a little bit of mom came out. But you know, she was so gracious, and Derek was just amazing as always. And those are things that we have now photographic images of that later on in life. I hope that they can tell their kids, like, you know, I met these greats, this great soul singer, guitar player, the best guitar player in the world, this guy. And they met Mike Madison and Doyle Bramall. And I mean, it's, to me, that's like everything. And I hope that one day they appreciate it. And I will tell you, you know, when I was concerned that they were getting into pop music more than some of my music, which I understand is totally selfish. Around that same time, so we went to see, you know, Buddy Guy, and then like a few months after, we got tickets to like Imagine Dragons or something in Madison Square Garden, which you know, I don't know if you know, the pop band, and I remember watching them, and they knew all the songs because it's pop music, so they're laughing, they're dancing, and I couldn't have felt better watching my kids just dance to music at Madison Square Garden. Like, that's just a great experience, no matter what it is. But at the time, I thought, okay, maybe I should just give up on my indoctrination effort here. And then a couple of weeks ago, my son sends me a text message while he's at his mother's, and he says, I was hoping to play this for you I was hoping to do this on Father's Day, but every time you've left the house since the wedding where he saw me play, and I told someone else, oh, I wish Sam would learn to play the guitar because he's got a gift for music. He can hear stuff and play it on the piano, which is amazing. And so I said that the night of the wedding. And then he sends me this text, and he says, you know, I wanted to play this for you for Father's Day, but I couldn't wait. And he sits down on the video and he grabs his guitar, which I didn't even know he had, because he was stealing my guitar every time I left the house to teach himself. And he sat down and played Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles.
Nice.
And like the whole intro, and I couldn't believe it. Like, this is a kid that I didn't know could play the guitar at all, because he was learning on, like, secretly. And that I thought was all into pop music. And I felt really good about that, because this is, I mean, it's the Beatles. I mean, again, getting back to the roots. And then in subsequent days after that, he brings his keyboard out, and he's playing Lean on Me by Bill Withers. He wants to now get an electric guitar. He's learning AC/DC and all this music that I never knew that he even knew existed. So it's been amazing to me to watch that growth in him, and how my influence has actually taken with him more than I expected it to.
That's cool. I mean, is part of it also maybe that, like, it's still accessible, all this music, and it's still being discovered by a lot of people. And you could very easily, if you have the slightest bit of interest in this type of music that we like, go down a YouTube rabbit hole very quickly. So I'm sure the internet and the accessibility of the music, even if it's not what's mainstream popular, probably helped encourage this stuff. But that's great. Does he sing too?
You know, he doesn't sing, and I think he wishes he sang, and I'm sure he can. But his mother So here's the thing. We talk about my guitar playing, and I said I reached a certain level, and then that was it. I need to work at that. I need to work at guitar. I don't have that. I have a trained ear, not a natural ear. Okay. His mother is a singer, she's pitch perfect, can sing with anything, can harmonize with anything, knows everything about music. Her father is one of those gifted people on the piano where he can hear anything and play. When he was 7 years old, the story is that his mother was in the other room and heard Brahms' Lullaby on the piano and went into the living room and found Elliot playing just because he knew that song from his lullabies.
And he was how old?
And he was 7 years old.
Wow. Do we believe this?
I 100% believe it.
Wow.
He plays to this day. He plays in bars and restaurants now. And I've tested him and I said, so Elliot, you play the piano. I'm interested in this song. Can you play this? And you play it for him once, and right then and there, plays it. So my son, luckily, has got that gift. He can hear things. He taught himself how to play the piano, no lessons or anything, all within the last 6 months. And I'm amazed at what he can do. And the fact that he taught himself how to play the guitar is amazing. He was telling me that he was playing Blackbird by the Beatles the other day, and he asked his mother to sing. And I said, oh, that must have been amazing. You guys must have sounded great. I wish that he had the confidence to just do it himself. And hopefully that builds, because that's a whole different strength and different level of confidence, I think, than playing a guitar. To be able to sing, you really put yourself out there as a singer.
That's true.
And I hope that he can overcome that and just learn how to do both at the same time, because he's got that gift, and I couldn't be happier about it.
He'll get there. You're just, you're ahead of him with all these things. You need to let the young lad find his way. What the hell do I know?
You're totally right, though. I mean, you are right. And that's kind of, and here's why you're right, because every time I've doubted his direction in music, he's always come back to okay, he learned how to play guitar, and I thought maybe he'd teach himself on some, I don't know, Maroon 5 or something, but he taught himself on the Beatles. Yeah, and that was all on his own. So you're right. You give him his space and he'll find his way.
Yeah, I think, even within TTB fandom, I feel like I have pretty eclectic taste in music, but maybe it is somewhat narrow in terms of not being into obviously pop music as much, or top 40 or heavy metal, a lot of heavy metal or new country, or there's things that I'm not super into, but there are people in the TTB world who have very eclectic tastes, and that ranges into pop music. So whereas people like me and you sometimes think, if you like this kind of music, you are not going to like Tedeschi Trucks Band. It's not for you, but it can be. There's no accounting for people's tastes or what inspires them or moves them.
Yeah. And you're right. And I do think that, further to that point is seeing them live really gets them to that.
Yeah.
Again. And I took my current wife to a Tedeschi Trucks show, and we sat up in the loge, and she had a few moments where wow, Derek is an amazing guitar player. She wasn't really familiar with that. She's like, he's an amazing guitar player. I had no idea that, what he brings to the table. That's incredible. But wasn't moved. And then we got floor seats, and we were 5 rows back. And she was like, okay, he's even better than I thought. But Susan, oh man, I remember she was so impressed with Susan. Susan, when she belts that out, that cuts right into your soul.
It does. And she's always so under control also. You never feel like she's not in control, even the times when she's being very emotional and whatnot with her singing.
Yeah, no, she's incredible. She's a one of a kind, and she knows how to reach people. And her guitar playing is incredible too, and probably doesn't get enough credit. But she can hold her own. In every sense of the way.
How many times have you seen Tedeschi Trucks Band live?
Well, I mean, I'm a Beacon guy, so
It adds up. Yep.
it adds up quickly. I think I saw their first show, which was at the Highline Ballroom, I think, and I want to say it was April 11th, like 2010 or 2011.
First show ever, Tedeschi Trucks Band, billed as Tedeschi Trucks Band.
Billed as Tedeschi Trucks Band.
Wow. Highline Ballroom, where's that?
Highline Ballroom in Manhattan, and it's somewhere downtown. And I mean, I'm guessing at the date, but I feel like I know it, and I feel like it's April 11th, 2010 or 11, and I could be totally off on that. But and I remember seeing them, and they played. It was interesting because I took friends of mine. Like I said, I like to turn people on to music. I took a couple with me, and the girl was really into Janis Joplin, and I'm like, you're gonna trust me. I know you don't, but Susan's gonna knock your socks off. It's gonna be reminiscent of Janis and then some. And
it's a good comp. It's a relevant comp.
Yeah. And then like 2 songs in, she was like, oh my God, this is Janet and then some. I mean, Janis and then some. And that was, around that time. So I would say I've probably seen them 30 times, maybe. Because I usually see 2 shows at the Beacon and 1 other time throughout the year. And
good system.
Yeah, and they've been around for 10 years now. So I would say that. Allman's I've seen probably about not 50, but 40 something times.
Wow.
And all the first time I saw them, like I said, was like in the 90s. But like all of that was when I got really into Derek and Warren. So from like 2003 to 2014 is when I saw them.
Yeah. So you've seen Derek Trucks live, including Allman's, including Derek Trucks Band, including Tedeschi Trucks Band. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, and each time is different. Each time is better than the next, or better than
right. Even after seeing him 100 times, I've only seen TTB about 15, 20 times live, and I feel like every show is better than the last, never disappoints, always exceeds expectations, even though for me, I guess they're super high. I mean, why shouldn't they be? Yeah. But you're never disappointed.
Yeah, they're always different shows, and even the same song will sound different the next time you see it.
No doubt. And Derek and Susan keep coming up with new ways and new little nuances and twists, especially for avid listeners like us. I think we notice the differences and what instrument is going to get a solo here, how Derek plays a certain intro or a solo and puts his spin on it. Like we're pretty hardcore into it. Yeah, for sure.
And I'm excited for, to start seeing them again. So, that's when I said that the last year has been great for me. That has been the biggest downside, is no live music.
Sure.
And I can't wait to see them again. I have tickets to see them in Connecticut on my birthday on July 7th. And, there was other times that I'd be willing to travel, on this new Fireside Sessions tour. There's other locations that I'd be willing to travel to, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to take my kids. We're going to get a 4-person pod in Connecticut. It's going to be my birthday. And I'm creating that experience for myself, this religious experience.
It's also more convenient and
it's way more convenient.
Right. It's just,
yeah,
I think you're doing it right for the time being. I think for sure. And I also wanted to say that I definitely noticed that you were, a contributor for sure, a very generous contributor to the Give Butter, to the TTB, givebutter.com / or givebutter.com/TTB band and crew support fund. And I personally appreciate that. And I'm sure the band does as well. And you should be commended for supporting the cause for sure.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the recognition. It's obviously not about the recognition. Hearing that they paid the band for a year is amazing. They paid the band for a year, and beyond that, it's difficult for them to do. I'm fortunate that I can do that. That I can contribute to the things that I love, And I want that version of the band to continue. And I know we lost JJ, but like the crew and everybody's like that's their family, and I can't imagine what they would feel like losing their family because of a pandemic. So if I'm capable of contributing, then I'm going to. I was fortunate to win a raffle. I won the Linda Wolf, Leon, and Derek and Susan.
That's right.
Photograph, which is just phenomenal. I mean, when Linda Wolf put out that book, I got the book about Joe Cocker, and I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. She is, I didn't know her before this. When she like through the fan club and everything, or through the Facebook fans, she popped up when that book was coming out about Joe Cocker, and I started looking into her. I'm like, oh my God, she's legit. She was there. She was part of all this.
Yeah, the 1970 Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour with Joe Cocker, Leon Russell, and she was one of the photographers on the tour. And she has a book called Cocker Power, which really takes you on the tour and makes you feel like you're there, especially if you're listening to the music while you're going through the book. I was like on that tour. I'm pretty sure like now it's all blended together, my friend.
It feels like it. And the fact that then she tied it into Lock-In Festival with the Derek tribute, the
reunion,
was just amazing. And so I requested her, a friend request on Facebook because I just thought that she was so amazing. And just through the few months that I've been friends with her on Facebook, God, she is just a beautiful soul too. I mean, she's passionate about her art, about politics and music. And she seems like I wish I knew her personally. She seems incredible. So it was an honor for me to win that photograph. And as soon as I won it, I turned around and donated some more because I almost felt guilty winning it.
Yeah, it makes
donated to donate, and then I won, and I was like, I feel bad.
You're funny. You're a funny guy. You're a good guy, and I'm lucky and honored to have talked to her twice on this podcast, Linda Wolf, and you the same. And I definitely appreciate your time, and I feel like I've taken up more than enough of it. Is there anything else we need to cover? We could do that. We could really do this all day.
I can go on forever with you.
But any other before you give any plugs or anything you want, or social media stuff that you want to share? Any other TTB highlights you got?
Well, I mean, TTB highlights, I will say TTB highlights was when I took Lisa, my wife, onto the floor in that kind of game-changing experience. And only TTB fans will understand the power of this, but seeing Susan and Kofi sing your song, is an experience. And I remember like Lisa and I, like she was already loving the band, this and that. And it was one of the last songs before the encore. And God, like I remember feeling her kind of melt into my arms because of that song. And the way Susan sings it and Kofi plays it is just incredible. And it's something that I will miss forever. Like that song was always a great experience. And then that one moment for me was super religious, and I'm not a religious guy. In terms of like parting words, I will say this, the one thing that I would plug. So I mentioned that, when I was sick with COVID, the music kind of got me through it. One of the things that on one of my last days of really being sick, I was searching around I was on Facebook, and something popped up somehow of this guy, Josh Daniel. Josh Daniel is a guy from Charlotte, North Carolina. He has a band called Josh Daniel Grateful Band. And he's Grateful Dead cover band. But man, check him out. He's just a good soul too. So he started and he said, you know what, we're going to do this. I'm going to play in my front. It's a quarantine. I'm going to play on my front lawn for my neighbors for a few days. He played for 365 days straight at his house. Never missed a beat. His son had surgery. He played that night at like 11 o'clock at night. The guy is a good soul. He's raised thousands of dollars for charity. He has created this community. They call him the Jamily because he is, he's a solo. He was playing solo acoustic, but he's this like pedal loop master. So he'll have like 6 different sounds going on, and it sounds like a full band. And he'll get chimes in and percussion, and he's incredible. And the fact that he played for everybody else kind of reached me. And every day he would start out his set and say, all right, guys, happy to be here. Celebrating life every day. That was his motto. Celebrating life every day. And during a pandemic, that meant something.
Sure.
And he continued to play. He hit the 365-day mark. He took 1 or 2 days off. Now I'd say he plays like 5 or 6 days a week.
Slacker.
It's incredible. And he created this whole community around him. And they call themselves Fernheads. And the reason why is because on one of his shows, maybe day like 60 something, he was playing on a porch in Carolina Beach in North Carolina. And behind him was a fern that looked like his like hair. And someone took a screenshot and they started making stickers and t-shirts and all that stuff. And he's incredible. He's played with Billy Strings. He's played with all these famous musicians. And I highly suggest that everyone check him out. He's not just Grateful Dead. He covers everybody. He's got a repertoire of thousands of songs, many of which are TTB also.
Oh.
Yeah, so check him out. He's cool, and he's got the vibe that we all care about.
What's his name, and how do we follow him again?
His name is Josh Daniel. His band is Josh Daniel's Grateful Band. You can find him on Facebook as an individual or as a band. There's a fan club on Facebook called, I believe it's called the Jamily. And check him out. I mean, he plays every day. And if I can get him up here one day to New York, I'm certainly going to do it.
Sweet. And what about people follow you? I know I'm guessing you're not a public figure, but if you want to share any of your stuff, feel free to go ahead.
I'm certainly not a public figure. I'm a fan of music. I'm a business professional, architect. If you want to find me, Glen Cordova on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm Cordova Arch, ARCH, like architect. And, hit me up. And you know what? This has been a great conversation. If I could find more people like you, Adam, to just get this out of my system.
It sounds like you need to. That's why I have this podcast, because I was already doing this. I was already talking about TTB, thinking about TTB all the time, and being engaged in the Facebook groups all the time. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna do this podcast thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're doing is great, and I
appreciate that.
Introducing people to each other is great, and it seems like a great community of people, and I appreciate what everyone is doing for Give Butter.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, this is a band that we all love, and we gotta keep them going and keep them going strong, so they come back even better than before.
Well said, my friend. Thanks again, and thanks again for the time. And let's talk more soon.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. Thanks, Adam.
Oh, you got it. Later.
So
there you go. Episode 56 with Glen Cordova. That was fun. I'm sure me and that guy can definitely talk music all day. But for real, I again thank Glen for his time. And please go to givebutter.com/TTB to support the crew. Tedeschi Trucks Band fans, Tedeschi Trucks Band family and friends on Facebook, those groups, to follow and participate in all the raffles and auctions that help the band and crew. Anyway, for now, hope everyone is doing okay out there. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Adam Choit. TTB themselves are at TedeschiTrucksBand.com. Again, givebutter.com/TTB to support the band and crew. But yeah, that's about all I got for today. And again, thanks for listening. Later.